This story begins with a man named Enzo. He works as a painter and teaches karate to kids in his free time. One night, after finishing work, Enzo stopped at a bus stop and lit a cigarette. Just then, a car sped by, splashing muddy water all over him and putting out his cigarette. Frustrated, Enzo threw it away and watched it float down the street. The cigarette drifted with the water and slipped into a sewer drain right in front of the Bank of Rio. Curious, Enzo followed the flow of water until it led him under a big bridge. He climbed down into the drain pipe, looked around carefully, and suddenly, an idea struck him. What if he could rob the bank through the sewer? The next morning, Enzo met his friend Sebastian and shared the plan. Sebastian, who was also struggling for money, agreed to join him. But to pull off a heist, they needed tools and weapons, things that cost money, and they had none. So, Enzo went to meet an old friend, Dibauza, hoping for help. But Dibauza didn't have much either. Instead, he gave Enzo the contact of a small-time thief named Mario, who often did petty robberies around the city. The next day, Enzo met Mario and told him everything. "If we pull this off," he said, "you'll never have to steal again." Mario hesitated at first, but eventually agreed. That night, Enzo and Mario went back to the sewer. Enzo dropped a measuring tape inside and crawled through the pipe to check the distance. After doing the math, he smiled and said, "We're only 18 meters away from becoming millionaires." Mario looked uneasy. "What if it rains?" "The sewer could flood," Enzo replied. "Then we'll do it only on a clear day." Mario nodded, and the plan began to take shape. They soon found out the bank had motion sensors that triggered alarms with any movement, but Enzo explained those sensors detect body heat, not motion. So, he made special suits from sleeping bags to block their body heat. The next day, Enzo went inside the bank pretending to be a customer. He quietly took pictures to study the layout, but the security guards caught him and took him to the basement. What they didn't know was, that was part of his plan. Enzo wanted to see the lockers up close. The guards checked his camera but found nothing. He had already removed the SD card. With no evidence, they let him go. Enzo returned to his team, showed them the blueprint he had made, and explained that they'd enter through the basement since all the lockers were located there. To measure the exact distance from the sewer to the bank, they used a bicycle, marking the tire, counting rotations, and calculating the length. Enzo worked out the perfect angle they'd need to dig directly toward the bank. He also reassured Mario that the money was insured, meaning no ordinary person would lose their savings. That night, they started digging a tunnel from the sewer. They also brought in Alberto, who would help them escape later. But there was one big problem. The bank had 400 lockers. Even if each locker took just 1 minute to open, it would take 6 hours to finish. So, Mario went to another branch of the same bank, rented a locker under his own name, and studied the mechanism of the locker, how it worked. Later, they stole a van to use as their getaway vehicle. But one day, when they parked it near Alberto's house, the police showed up, questioning why the van was blocking the road. Alberto and his wife quickly came outside and told the officers that the men were their guests, saving them from suspicion. Back in the sewer that night, the group kept digging until their drill suddenly broke. Mario, frustrated and out of money, said he couldn't invest anymore and walked away. A few days later, while Enzo was with his girlfriend, they were talking about stars, how the light we see from them now actually left them years ago. By the time that light reaches us, those stars might not even be alive anymore. In next moment, a new idea came to him. What if they robbed the bank in broad daylight? The plan was clever. They'd enter the bank through the main gate during the day so police would think it was a typical robbery. While the police surrounded the building, the robbers would escape through the tunnel. Mario loved the idea. On the day of the heist, everyone coated their hands with glue to avoid leaving fingerprints. Sebastian went into the sewer to keep digging, while the rest entered the bank disguised as customers. Once inside, they pulled out their fake guns, put on masks, and took everyone hostage. The security guard saw it on CCTV and immediately called the police. Mario forced the cashier to fill a suitcase with cash, while Alberto locked the parking gate from the inside. Within minutes, the police surrounded the entire area. Enzo stepped outside with a hostage at gunpoint, warning the police not to enter or the hostages would die. Inside, Mario disarmed the guard, grabbed his phone, and sent him outside so the police could contact them through that phone. Enzo then disabled all the cameras to erase footage and went to the basement, where Sebastian had just arrived through the tunnel. From their van, they brought a special machine built by Sebastian, a device that could open a locker in just 7 seconds. They synced their watches and started working in perfect rhythm, breaking open locker after locker. Meanwhile, Mario noticed officers trying to get to the roof. He called the police captain and threatened to kill the hostages unless they backed off. The captain reluctantly agreed, but secretly placed 2 snipers on a nearby building. Mario demanded to speak with the mayor. When the mayor finally arrived, Mario mocked him, then asked to talk to his lawyer instead. The captain asked for the lawyer's number. Mario gave him the number of a hostage's phone. Then, using a different voice, he pretended to be the lawyer himself, just to buy more time. Down in the basement, Enzo and Sebastian finished moving all the cash and gold through the tunnel, loading it onto a small boat waiting at the other end. Before leaving, Enzo placed all their fake weapons inside the vault, proving he never intended to hurt anyone. Mario locked all the hostages on the first floor, and he and Enzo escaped through the tunnel. Minutes later, when the hostages realized the robbers were gone, they called their families. The police captain, sensing something was off, looked around and noticed the open sewer near the bank. That's when it hit him. There was a third escape route. He sent one team through the main gate and another through the sewer. But by then, Enzo and his team had already erased every trace and escaped through their tunnel. They had even built a small dam inside the sewer to divert the water flow and used a motorboat to flee in a different direction, completely confusing the police. By the time the captain reached the tunnel, it was too late. The gang reunited at Alberto's house, divided the loot, and burned the van to destroy evidence. Then they each went their separate ways to enjoy their stolen fortune. Months later, everything changed. Alberto's wife found out he was having an affair. Angry and betrayed, she went straight to the police and revealed the entire plan. Soon, one by one, the robbers were caught. The stolen money was seized, and all of them were sent to prison. 7 months later, Enzo was released, and Mario was waiting for him outside in a luxury car. That's when the truth came out. Enzo had planned for everything, because they had used fake weapons and never harmed anyone. The court gave them only 7 months in prison, and since the bank had no proper record of the money inside the lockers, the authorities couldn't determine how much was actually stolen. The bank claimed losses of around $25 million and several kilos of gold, but the police recovered only about 1.17 million. The rest was never found. In the end, Enzo and his crew walked free, living quietly and comfortably with their secret fortune. I hope you enjoyed today's story. If you liked this recap, hype the video, like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.